Good morning, everyone. How are yous? Just dropping in to say hi, show you what I'm up to. Nothing major on my desk at the moment. I feel like I'm sort of killing time between starting the second half of the year with some projects that are floating around in my head. I've got my 2 retreats that will be starting as of next week. It's Friday for me, Friday morning. I feel like I'm on the cusp of a whole lot of fun, and I'm just, itching to sort of get started. So since I got back from Japan, I've just been doing odd things. Not odd things, but odd little tasks. Now, this one in particular popped back up on my desk. When I first started this project, it was January 15, and I filmed a video, and I thought, well, that video will come in handy one day. I'll slide it in. And the plan was to go camping, and these hexagons would be prepped ready in a tin in the caravan. So that was the whole premise of the video. Get them prepped, get them into the tin and into a cupboard in the caravan. So when I had 10 days camping with friends, this is what I would do. Well, the weekend after I filmed that, these were just looking so beautiful in the tin, and I just couldn't help myself. So within, I think, 3 days, they were all done. And I remember saying to Dawn at the time and Susanna, I'm hopeless. I create these projects for a rainy day and then I just can't walk away from them. And they somehow miraculously just get started. Don't know what that's about. But let's back it up and show you a few things. These are all pictures that I had taken for that video, and they were slid into the video as slides. So Honeycomb Shine On is the name of this pre-cut pack. Purchased around the pandemic, something to do, sat in the cupboard for a couple of years, sick of looking at them, and decided, great project to sit in a caravan. That video I actually deleted about a fortnight ago because I thought it's not relevant. I didn't end up going camping because it rained and rained and rained and rained in Queensland. So that got cancelled. And I'd finished them anyway the weekend I filmed the video. So it was sort of like, yeah. In that video, I did talk about what am I going to do with them. Once I've made them into these flowers, these hexagons, they are, if you want to know measurements, they're 1 1/4. So that measurement there, 1 1/4. I bought myself some templates ages ago as well. So it was like, just get it done. It's in the cupboard, just get it done. Well, it's just opened up a hole, rabbit hole, hasn't it? Of course. So in that video that got deleted, I was talking to you about what design, I've just got my phone to the side, what design would we do with these hexagons? And the general consensus in my head was you just piece them together randomly. But then by the time I talked it through with you guys, I came up with a few different ideas because I'd gathered some images. So this was another one. And then I don't have the image, but in my head I can still see it. Well, there's 2 more. So I showed you this where I add another row, then float it in white and then link it together with something. The third suggestion was using, I think, 4, it might have even been 5 simple colours, like a block colour. You'd then have another one and another one and another one. And the final one was using these as flowers, stitch them into a general background, but then lay over the top with applique a few extras and then add leaves and stems. Those 4 ideas have been with me for January, February, March, April, May, June, and July now. And things have evolved. And this is the great thing about some of our projects. If you find that you get to a point with a project and you shelve it, you just seem to be a bit of a roadblock, don't beat yourself up over it, because I'm a big believer that it gives your mind, your creative mind, time to just digest it a little bit. And it'll be hanging around in the back of your thought. You will see inspiration when you watch other YouTube videos, especially when they do quilt shows or You might be flicking through Pinterest. You might see something in your natural environment that makes you think of this project. I don't know, hexagons, maybe beehives, but that's probably it. And yeah, you'll find that your ideas will just keep sort of growing. And that's what's happened with this. So you're wondering, why has she got these types of fabrics? Well, if I go back to those 4 original ideas, I'm still keen on the build a garden, but the only thing stopping me is the background. Let's say it's a pale blue or a white. That's a lot of hexagons. I don't think the girl is ready to commit to that much work. I've evolved in my technique, which is quite interesting. So maybe I'll just flip to technique for a moment, and then we'll get into this pile of fabric here. When I first picked them up, I tried to do the basting technique where you use thread and a needle to stitch it down. And I just couldn't, I don't know, I think it was my mind at the time. I just wasn't keen on it. Whether I had a little bit of pain in my hands or I don't know what it was. But anyway, I quickly, it's not for me. And I went to the glue basting method, which was quick, bit of glue. They were all pre-cut. Fold them over. Hey, Fudge, how are you? Good morning. I've got a story about Fudge too. Easy, done. And I lined them all up in a tray. You would have seen the tin in the opening slide. I'll just bring it back up. That was the photo there of them all lined up, basted, ready to go. They just look so adorable. I set myself up with a magnet in the lid, a needle and thread. Yeah, I was ready to go, but that was the weekend. I just started stitching. Hopeless. I kept saying, no, leave some. Put the lid down, put it in the caravan, just leave it. No, she didn't. She kept going. So this little pile was sort of sitting there, all done for months. Now, technique-wise, roll forward to about 3 days ago, and I completely changed my technique. I discovered a new YouTube channel. Now, it's not going to be for everyone, but I just found this young man a breath of fresh air. Now, he's been on YouTube for a couple years. He's got 119 videos, and I just deep dived in. Dave's Craft Room. Now, there's a playlist in there of about 4 or 5 videos, which is Dave sitting and chatting with his mum. This young man, like I said, he's a breath of fresh air. He does the most amazing quilts. He's such a character. It's like sitting there with your little brother watching him goof around. So if you're looking for someone new to watch, you may already know of Dave, just throw him on in the background. He comes up with some funny things. He tackles some beautiful quilts, 365 tiny houses. It just about drove him bonkers. So if you've ever got a quilt in your mind, I can guarantee Dave's had a go at it. By the time you finish the video, he creates the whole quilt in the video. So it's brilliant. It's not like me where you've got to tune in for 200 videos to keep up with what she's doing. Dave will talk you through his ideas, show you his selection. Mum will throw in her 2 cents worth every so often. And then you'll see him cut the fabric and he speeds it up. So you see all the blocks build and it's brilliant. And then right at the very end, voila, he's got his quilt. His enthusiasm, in the 1 year he did 200 quilts. And then he took them all to work, put them in the lunchroom and just let everyone take a quilt. And he said the whole lot, bar one, was gone within hours. And then the next day, that last quilt found a home. And I just thought, oh, what a generous young man. He's just a cracker. He's not for everyone, but if you're looking for a young person to watch that's just finding his way through the quilting world, I'd highly recommend that channel. Okay, sidetracked. Well, Dave comes along into my life as I'm sitting there stitching another project, which is just off the side here, and he does a hexagon quilt. And I've been watching lots of hexagon quilt YouTube people like Emma and Racheal, the UK girls. and their technique is beautiful. Jennifer Cliston's got a great technique. Fudgy, please. See, you talk to him and he replies, Fudgy, that's a boy, come here. Touch the cat, pat the cat. So when Dave came along, you'll know what I mean when you watch some of his videos. He's real casual, real cool. Yes, he follows technique, but he does it the Dave way. So he takes a hexagon and his piece of fabric. He cuts I'm just trying to grab a piece. Of course, the one I do grab has the selvage, which is a technical issue that popped up. No good, that piece, because I've got the words in the hexagon. Dave wouldn't care. He'd just work that into his hexagon. So Dave cuts his square. Boom, boom, boom. Done. And I was dreading cutting hexagon fabric for these to make more to finish quilt. Dave pops along. Just make a square. And he thread basted. So I'm like, right, have another go. Fudgy's coming up. Okay, come on, Fudge. Oh, Fudgy bee. All right, pussycat's coming through. All right, cat's happy. You right? Good? Yeah. So, yeah, Dave thread bastes. And it's just a case of throwing your fabric down. Don't overthink it. Using your thread, stitch, stitch, stitch. That one was a little bit out of whack because I ran out of fabric this side, but it works. As you can see by Fudgy, would you pass us a black one? One of these. I was concerned that we had bulk fabric here, but I can trim it. And I probably won't because, you know, I feel like this hexagon has a bit of substance to it because there's this little bit extra fabric. These hexagons feel like they're just making it. So that's been interesting. I got myself a new Racheal needle. This guy. Really thin. Now Jennifer mentions this, a nice thin needle to slither in your thread to join these hexagons. So this made a big difference because I think the needle I picked up back in January was just a little bit too thick. This goes straight through that paper and just made it a dream. So suddenly I'm basting hexagons again. Hey, Fudge, let me just put this all back. I can't see because there's a cat sitting here. So I'm off and racing again, which brought back, what design am I going to do? Where am I going with this? I've got to make some decisions. Now, in those few months in between, I started thinking about black. And when I was in Brisbane, getting ready to go overseas, remember I picked up this little bundle of black fabric. So this has sort of been sitting on my desk thinking, you know, black's an interesting colour. I find with these hexagons, where are you going, Fudge? I find with these hexagons that they're very bright, they're very full on. I don't know, in January, I felt like that was okay. Roll forward, I don't know, it just feels like it's a bit much for me. Fudgy now wants to get down. I've now got to move the chair. For goodness sakes, Fudgy. Come on. Yeah, so the long story, brought in a bit quicker, is black is going to be my colour to push back the colours. So I'm not using these fabrics. They're not quite right. So I went out and I found some more fabrics that I thought would work, but it's not going to be able to be used. That one there. And there's nearly a blue tone to the black. It's hard to explain. You know, there's black and there's black. Well, I think there's a bit of a blue, a cool tone to this fabric. All small prints. This one got rejected because it's just too big of a print. Maybe if I had a 6-inch hexagon, yeah, it would pull it off. I did look at this fabric. There's sort of two within it. It's not bad, but a little bit creamy because this is primary colours. I am using warm tones in the white to help pull it back down in intensity, but that was just a little bit too much. Then I picked up 2 solids. Wasn't sure which one I'd end up using. I end up using the cross. I suspect I don't have enough of this, so I might need to put some spots in amongst it. So that's plan B. The connecting piece is going to be a solid. I haven't yet dived into this. I don't think I need it. I think I've got enough with what I got. This was a piece I picked up that was a base, like if I was going to float them in a white. But I don't need that. But I could use it if I feel like I need some more. So you could have, you know, white around, especially if I was doing the garden, which I don't think I am. We've made a decision. Do not give me any more ideas. Don't even write it in the comments, guys. I need to make a choice. I picked up this fabric. Some of these came from Patchwork Emporium. She had a sale on, and it was around the time of the Maryborough Quilt Show that I ducked in there just to check it out, and she was clearing old stock. So I got some of these for like, it was about $10 a metre, like a great price. And this I felt like was from the family of all of these. So I thought that's going to be handy for a back, maybe. Don't know. So let me just make some space. Let me just cough. Hang on. Oh my goodness. I've still got that lingering nasally, chesty thing from that little COVID thing I had. That was like 3 weeks ago now. It's crazy. Okay, black. I've now gone and prepped some random black with a pink, that's that pink fabric, in the centre. And I love them. I just love them. They're subtle. They're not full-on pattern. Let me just spread them out a little bit and I'll show you something I noticed which helped me with some design choice. If they were these, they'd look very solid. So I've kept it quite, I don't know, pared back. So when I then insert colour, okay, let's pretend that I didn't do black, and you can see just how intense this is. Now don't get me wrong, I love it, like I bought the fabric, but I don't know, just felt like I could fiddle around a little and, you know, have a play with manipulating colour a little bit. So that's option 1, and the 4 variations I spoke about. We've gone off that idea. So now what I'm going to do is you pop out one, and I'm just going to slide in that guy. Now, it might not be for everyone. You might think, oh gosh, that girl, I don't know what she's seeing there. But trust me, I think it's going to work. Well, I hope it does. So randomly, I've got these little pops of this black and white fabric. And I'd have to say they're probably a low volume. Low volumes, you know, hardly any colour in them. They fit in with all sorts of colour palettes, but they're not intense like these guys. So suddenly I've got this little, I don't know, I feel like I can rest my eye for a moment. It's subtle, but I feel like it's just, I don't know, added a little bit of interest to it. So that's the plan. I'm making more hexagons. And when I laid these out on the carpet and did the math, I need 18. So that's what this little craft basket here is getting the 18 ready. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to just give myself a little bit of breathing space between them. I don't know if this is the right method that I come up with, but anyway, we'll see how we go. We're going to connect. No, that guy would then join, but this guy would be there. I think this is right. No, it's not. Trust me, I did work it out. Yeah, that's it. That's right. At the top of the flower, that guy joins in. I have played with these for hours. Every so often they'll be out on the carpet and Gaz will walk in and go, "You're still playing with those things." Oh, I tell you. And before I decided on this final piece, I'll show you a couple other designs I workshopped. I took photos of them because I thought I'll take a photo, then I can sort of look at them over the, next few days and sort of think about it. All right, so that's the combination. This centre being featured here may be a pattern. I'm not saying that a black or flower will be a centre. The black flowers are going to just be flicked through it, which I'll come back to the overall design. So that is the plan. So then that guide would go into there. This guide would come into here. I've got a ton of these little black guides to do, but that's all right. There we go. And then in comes the colour. All right. Then I started thinking about, okay, well, I've still got a mishmash of colour. Yes, it's been pared back by this insert of the black. Maybe I could be a bit tricky on the layout. So what the plan is now, the final plan is at the bottom left-hand corner, this will be. As I head to the adjacent corner on the right at the top, the colour will start to thin out and we will see more of these guys pop in. Okay, so now the colour is getting pushed back again. By the time I get to that top corner on the right, there'll be no colour. It'll just be the black and white. Maybe one or two. So in my head, I've got the image of, those poppers that the confetti comes out, those party poppers around your hand and the canister. It's intense. And then as it goes up into the air, it becomes less and less and less to the point of you see one or two pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge from the colour into the black and white with the pink centres at the very top. So that's the plan. Finally, I feel like I have a vision. Please do not give me another plan. I am not planning this anymore. I've planned out, I have a plan, and now I've got to make these hexagons. So that's it. Let me just bring this in. So this project is what I've been working on the last few days. I've got more hexagons I can make if I want to make it bigger, but I have my 18. Having said that, I might find that less colour zone, the top corners of the quilt, may not have enough black and whites. So I have a feeling my quilt may get a little bit bigger. So I have, squares ready to go. I have a ton of these to make because they're the connecting ones, but I haven't done the math on it, so I should probably do that next so I don't make excess. So there you go. That's my hexagon quilt. What else did I want to show? Oh, before we say goodbye, I made a couple layouts of all of this a week ago. And I just want to show you the 3 pictures of some other ideas. So let's have a look at this one. You can see the flower, a lot more pink, alternating between the black and some white. So that was one. So that was a possibility. That really pushed the colour back. You can see the how my mind has worked through all this by looking at these photos. I then started playing with pink as the connecting colour. So there's my flower. I think that's sort of the evolution of this flower. But pink was the connector and it was too much. Hence, then the black became the connecting colour. And then the final one was this one. Now, this one I started getting really tricky. So I was using one of my flowers. I was alternating the colour around it, floating it in white, and then using pink to connect that big medallion, and then floating in it the flowers around. It was just getting out of control. And then I'm like, well, if I stitch all that together, how am I going to go from there? How am I going to connect? So I started to get a bit nervous about this layout, thinking, yeah, it's all well and good making this huge medallion. Quilts are square or rectangles. So I was like, I don't know. So then I went back to Pinterest and just started flicking through hexagon quilts. I found that one in an image. I thought, no, that's boring. I'm not going to do that. But I found this. And then for 2 days, I was like, wow, let's do that. We're going to do that. And that's sort of how that one placed out, came together. And I sort of, I don't know, one morning I woke up and I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And then I twigged to my hexagons are too big. This is a small hexagon, maybe a 1 inch, maybe even less. I don't know. I couldn't find any information about it. And I think that's the beauty of it. They're tiny. My quilt, to get that look, I'd probably only be a little bit of it and barely get a couple of those stars in there. And the beauty of this is the stars, and lots of them. So I was like, no, go away. I'm not doing that. So what else did I spot that I wanted to show you? I think that was it. Yeah, that was the evolution of the ideas. So there you go. So stay tuned. I'm hoping I'll have a completed hexagon quilt one day. Just want to show you a couple other little things. I have a lady staying with me. Hello, Diane. She's actually still in her bunk out the door behind me. Her and her husband have bought their motorhome and they've pulled up and she's coming to the retreat and they're camping just outside. They're heading into the bay in a few days to sort of make their home for the week. Diane does a pop-up shop for me. She's very talented. And if you remember last year, she made the zipper pouch that sent me on a whole rabbit hole of zipper pouches. Well, she's made more and I've purchased this one and I just love it. Absolutely love it. Susanna purchased one. She's already got that in her hands and she's got some more ready for the ladies at the retreat. Look at that. So many stitches. She's a fan of Jennifer Clouston, so you can see the influence there of the Jennifer. Let me zoom in, guys. We need to absorb this. So we've got painting of threads into fabric. We've got crocheted, textured little morsel here. Look at this. Just stitches, white lace with stitches in it. More little morsels here. That's an embroidery. That's an embroidery. Then seed stitched around. Oh, she's such a girl of my own heart here. Just gorgeous. She makes the most beautiful things. Oh, I love it. Every time I look at it, I see something else. So flip it over. She's given me some fixtures for a pattern that I'd like to do. It's a bag. And she makes it regularly for her market stall. So she's given me the connector bits to put all the handles on. And then the bag's feet to keep it out of soil sits on buttons. And these are the buttons she uses. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Pop them over there. So this is the zipper pouch. I just love it. So you've got your pouch this side with that plastic insert. You'll remember the original one. And then there's a zipper at the top here. As well. Gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Inspired us all to go and make a few of these for ourselves. A great way to use a piece of slow stitch is to turn it into one of these classic zipper pouches. So, and as extra, like this one I ordered because I just knew I needed another. I'd be tempted to get another, but one must not be greedy and take all the goodies. She gifted me this. You need to see this, guys. Let me just bring it up. Okay, so we've got a beautiful piece of slow stitch on the front. Just gorgeous. So we've got a fabric that was already embellished with some embroidery, the white flower and the fine blue. You can see the edge of it here. Then she's picked up additional laces to build up on that, and then worked in behind extra fabric and crocheting, and look at all these little feather stitches. Just gorgeous. Yum. Some charms, and it's a zipper pouch. Look at this. You're thinking, what is going on there? Look. She puts the best zips in. They're really strong. All right. Open it up. What have we got? We have got pages in here to put your goodies. Check that out. Pockets, lining. Oh, that's fabric for me. There's the pocket. And look at this. Look at that. So you can use that as something. Then you've got this that can have your other somethings. She's got a needle threader in there. And look at this. Let's do it again. How clever. How clever. And, you see some of these types of constructions, you think, how did they get all those pages to fit? And, the layers that go into it with the spine. This is absolutely genius. It gives me flexibility. I can use that, if I want, in there to thin it out. Or I can add more pockets. Concertinaed, not concertina, but they call that waterfall effect. So everything steps in, and then this inserts into here. Oh, this may be around a while. You're probably all sitting there going, Corinne, I've known about that since the 60s, but I've never seen this. Well, I've seen concepts like it that I would have my crocheting hooks in. Bought one, but I've never seen one made. So much work. So much work. That was a little treasure. I'll chuck that in there. So there's the goodies that the gorgeous Diane gifted me. And I just had to get myself another one of those. Oh, I love it. I love the colours, the fabric. That's beautiful. Pink and navy. Yum. So we went thrifting yesterday. We had to go into town and pick up a few odds and bods, grocery-wise. And I said to her, come on, let's go and have a look at some stalls. So we went to two, and I picked up this linen skirt. It's just dried. I washed it yesterday, and it's got a lining in it. It's like a straight line skirt with a slight flare at the bottom. Beautiful piece of linen. So I picked that up for $6. So I'm going to break that down. That's going towards my volume 8 project with the Roxy girls. That'll work beautifully. That kicks off Sunday. Can't wait. It's going to be odd having the girls near me and seeing the launch of a volume 8. They'll be right there. It's going to be odd watching a video of someone and they're standing right beside you. It's going to be fun. So this blouse also I picked up. So it's beautiful lace in there. With in mind the Roxy project too, as some embellishing. Like, look at that edge. Down the bottom here are little flowers. You can see them there. They'll be fun. So I think this was $4. Or it might have been $6 as well. Can't remember. So they've all been washed. So I've got 2 pieces of clothing out of that. There wasn't much else. There was actually a lady down the back where they hang all the sheeting and tablecloths and things like that going through the rack. And I was looking at her outfit, and she had the jeans, the denim jacket on, and she had patches of fabric stitched on with camphor stitch, and it just looked like someone from our tribe. And I thought, I wonder if she's coming to the retreat. Her face I've not officially met yet. So it was quite interesting. I was like, oh, she has to be. She has to be one of the girls. But anyway, we'll soon find out. The other thing I've been working on, because Diane's been here with me for a couple of days, and we've been sitting and stitching, is this. Now, the lovely Sherry Iris, who I mentioned about 2 weeks ago when I was throwing around the ideas of volume 8 and how I was going to approach the volume, and it's a coverlet type throw lap quilt concept. And just because quilt, which I've already done the one of, is a technique that most likely will appear. But I wanted to mix it up a little bit. And I've been watching Sherry for a little while. And I love her fabric technique where she creates fabrics. And I've never tried it. I just sort of am stitching, watching Sherry. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to take this moment, this little window of no projects hanging over me, to try a few little different techniques, hence the hexagons have come out, and I had time to do this. Now, I'll link Sherry's video before because, thank you, Sherry. She's just starting a little series of slow stitch videos using her style and technique, and they're just adorable. She does such a good job editing. Beautiful. Not like me, just whack on that camera and go for it. Just... next level. So anyway, so Sherry shows in there her technique of getting her pieces of cloth, folding over a seam allowance, wrong sides together, and whip stitching those seams close. Exactly the same technique here as English paper piecing, where you whip stitch it together. And I thought, you know, that's something different. Let's whip stitch some fabric together. Then for that little extra detail, and this is that little, the dimple stitch, I've decided to call it Sherry. Just reminds me of dimples. She folds her seam then flat. Now, normally you would just iron it and fingers crossed it just sits. But she goes that one step extra and she does a little running stitch over those seams to hold them nice and flat. And what that gives you is this little dimple. Now, it's not quite invisible stitch, where it'd be the tiniest stitch with a big stitch on the back. It's not quite running stitch. I've been trying to work out how to explain my interpretation of it. It's not quite running stitch, where it's the same size stitch top and bottom, which is sort of that classic outline your patchwork. It's subtler. It's still a stitch that you can see, if I can bring it up to the camera, but it's creates this little dimple. So I was sitting there doing it, and I was showing Diane. I said, this stitch, I said, it's not running stitch, it's not invisible stitch, it's dimple stitch, because it gives you this gorgeous little detail. I just love it. Now you mix up your threads. So I've just used neutral because that's what I had sitting beside me. But if I was to pick up, say, a taupey colour, so when I'm doing my overcast stitch to join it, or my whip stitch, that would be a colour in contrast. So when it got folded out, you would see a little hint in that divot of the contrast. Then come along and do your dimple stitch here. You'd have that cute little pickup of that different coloured thread. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. Today, Friday, Diane and I are going to do some more stitching. So I'm going to make some more little pieces of joined together cloth, but have a play with some thread colours so that my dimple stitch and my joining stitches become a little hint. You'll know what I mean when you go and see Sherry's videos. It's classic Sherry. Beautiful. The big question is, that's one lap. That's another lap and another lap. So every seam gets stitched 3 times. Now throw that into a coverlet. Oh, I don't know. That's a lot of stitching. So I'm sort of in that, okay, if I'm not going to do the camphor everywhere and I do more of a patchworky feel, how intense do I want to do all this stitching? How big are these pieces going to be? So that's where I'm sitting, tossing around in my head how I approach the volume 8. I've got a bench over there that I usually do filming on for quilts, and there is so much fabric on it and so many ideas, and it's been great. It's been there for 3 weeks. Just I throw things in, I pull things out, I add more things, I clean out a cupboard and find other things, throw them in, pull them back out. So this is in amongst it now. In the process of prepping for volume 8, I made myself another rice bag. Now remember, I was going to do some patchwork pieces. I'll show you more when I do that video, out of the Alice Caroline patchwork Liberty book. I'll link the video if you're wondering what's she talking about now. Well, I have made some of those patches to make that quilt out of Liberties in the blues. I think I'm up to block number 12. I did that weeks ago. Those blocks are going to be somehow used in volume 8. I don't know how. So I've got these classic blocks. It's a good way for me to learn some of these blocks, I thought. In amongst it, we've got Sherry's technique of creating a new piece of cloth with this joining method, hence the Liberties popping up. When I was doing those blocks, I had lots of scraps here. I had all these left from cutting the blocks. And I thought, well, they're going to be great for stitching onto the project. But I need somewhere to keep them, so I've got time. I made myself another rice bag caddy, yet to put the cordage through the loops. But that's this one. I kept it simple. I just did camphor stitch on the background of a plain square, 6.5 by 6.5. I then put some of these little pieces, random little morsel off, plopped it on using a different thread, closer together canvas stitched hem down, and then another one and another one, but left gaps. Some are more sparse than others. Then I came back through with that crocheted lace. This is a modern lace. It's everywhere at the moment. And just put a few little pieces in just to soften it again. So there's really only 3 elements to this. The background, lots and lots of canvas stitch, then some pieces of a fabric, and then some lace, which I just invisible stitched down. So that is my rice bag caddy for my up-and-coming volume. Isn't it shocking? We're making accessories for projects now. I'll tell you. Any excuse to make another bowl, another caddy, another whatever, a pouch, zipper pouch. So this is going to hold all my scrappy bits because I'll be looking for little morsels to embellish with through that project. So I'm ready. I'm ready. It's been lovely having a few weeks where there's not much going on my craft table. I've been able to do this. I didn't film it because I think you guys know what I do with rice bags. And Racheal's actually making one too. When she gets back from Australia, you'll see that pick up again on her whatever Wednesday videos. So that'll be fun to see how she interprets that caddy using her fabrics. I've had a sample play with the Sherry Iris technique, and I plan to do a few more of these this afternoon today. I'm getting ready for my retreat. I'm ready. Like I did it all before I went away, so I just didn't want to be racing around like a mad chook trying to get everything sorted. I did have a fudgy story, but I'll say that for another day. It's, another day. I've just looked at the camera and it's like 46. No, I'll tell you. What I'll do, let's make use of the time. I'm going to stitch another one of these together. Out of the 18 I need, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to go. Very exciting. And I can technically start piecing the quilt together. So the fudgy story. Every 4 weeks, for those of you who know Fudgy well, every 4 weeks we take him to the vet and he gets this needle that allows his nerve endings to communicate pain-free to the back end of his body, making his back legs quite strong. He stands upright, he walks straight lines. Without it, he was becoming very slumped and very weak. And yeah, not good. Pain for sure, because he used to lick intensely on one spot and then pull at his fur. And it was a behaviour that sort of created these little ball patches. I took him to the vet to say something's not right. And they said, yeah, kidney disease, kidney failure is imminent. And that whole weakness in the back end of the cat is just part of the degradation of the disease on their bodies. But we have a miracle that's happened. So I thought, I'll check the dates. And it was, because I'd noticed the slump was coming back. And I thought, right, we're due for another needle. Sure enough, it was just over the 4-week mark. And I said, Fudge, I'll make you an appointment. Well, let's get it done before the retreat and my house fills up with women stitching and giggling and Fudgy, let's just get you sorted, son. Anyway, off to the vet we go. And because he doesn't need the vet, I can get away with just the nurse. You can sort of just come in any time. So it's great. So within 20 minutes, I was at the vet, having called them yesterday morning, the morning before last. The only one in there, it's right at opening. I notice, and I'm sitting at the end of the counter, and I notice to my left a door to a waiting room, and on the floor was this small quilt. And I'm like, oh, there must be a dog or cat needing a quilt on the ground. So I thought, oh yeah, just filed it away. And Fudgy's taken out the back, so I'm sitting there now by myself. The door opens. And before I could turn and sort of see who was coming into the waiting room, there were two humans, male, female, and this big chocolate Labrador. And next minute, his nose is on my cheek. Oh, beautiful. Her nose was on my cheek, and she ambled past me into that side room. And I've got my hands on her back, just rubbing her back as she passed. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And she was a big dog. She was very rotundous. She had that greying around the muzzle. And the female, her mum, walked with her in. And I didn't even look at the humans' faces. There was just this big chocolate Labrador passing past me with a big smooch on the cheek. As I turned my head, I watched her go into that waiting room, and she just relaxed on that quilt. And you could see she was an old girl. She had that waddle, and her back end was weak. And I thought, okay, you must be here for your needle. So in the passing of the dog and the kiss on the cheek, I said, oh, she's just beautiful. He or she, by then I'd straightened up in the seat, and I'm looking underneath the girth, her tummy, to see if it was a boy or girl. And the female, the lady, we'll call her mum. The mum, she says, oh, she's a girl. And I thought, oh, she's beautiful. She didn't say anything else to me. She kept walking. Dad, he's by now standing at the counter directly in front of me, leaning on the counter, waiting for a nurse to come back into the waiting room to greet them. So Dad's here at the counter. Mum's here through that door. The door is ajar to a point where I can still see that the big Labrador is sitting on that quilt. Now, if this is, I just want to warn you that this could trigger you. If you've recently lost a pet, maybe say goodbye, off you go. Oh, I tell you, you can just see what's coming. So, yeah, I don't want to upset anyone if someone's just dealt with that, because it's confronting. Anyway, back to my situation that I've now got myself into. I'm sitting going, oh, beautiful dog, gosh, gorgeous. And I looked up at the man who's standing there, and he turns to me, he says, yeah, we're here to put the dog down. And my heart just hit the ground. And now when you're aware of, say, this, and as you've just absorbed this, you start pulling back, and you're now aware of the environment you're in. That's what happened. So he's just said that. I'm going to say it felt cold, but I think he was just holding it together. I think he was just trying to, yeah, we're here to put the dog down. But yeah, you could tell. So I'm now aware of the lady, and I could hear her quietly sobbing. Oh my goodness. I'm thinking, oh, Corinne, now you're in it. I've got Fudgy in the room getting a needle. This now in front of me, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what do you say? Oh, I'm so sorry. I said, it's a very sad time. And he was sort of chatting. It was just brief chatting. It wasn't a full-on conversation. So I'm sitting there thinking, I'm okay. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. This is sad. Oh, this is sad. Oh, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. You know, you start convincing yourself. Everything was fine. In come from a cubicle another lady who had been with the vet, and she had a little white Maltese, and this little dog comes pulling on the lead, and he's like, wanting to go, and she's like, settle down, and she was an older lady with this gorgeous little white Maltese, and he looked like an old boy, and I'm looking at him going, oh my goodness, it's getting heavy now. So the dad is still briefly chatting to me, enough that when the new lady entering the waiting room, she hears enough to twig what's going on. By then, I'm like trying to hold myself together, because I can feel like, oh my goodness, this is going to be sad. I look at her, she looks at me. Next minute, we're all crying. It was terrible. The poor dad, he's standing there going, gosh, girls, keep it together. We're trying to be subtle, because the last thing we want is mum in the side room, who's already falling to pieces, to see us idiots in the spectators falling to pieces. There wasn't a medical staff anywhere. So could you imagine the nurses and the vets come out? Everyone's howling in the bloomin' waiting room. Oh my goodness, what a palaver. So I managed to pull myself together. It was only a brief, tear up. The older lady, she pulled herself together. We've got a Maltese that is bouncing around just wanting to go. And next minute, the second consultancy door opens. I'm thinking, oh, what now? What's going to walk into this room? And it's my nurse and the vet holding fudge. And they're like, can you come over here? We just want to have a quick chat. I'm thinking, oh, no. What's happening now? Fudgy's in the nurse's arm looking at me going, Mum, they jabbed me with a needle. Get me out of here. He had that look on his face. The nurse and the vet looking quite somber, as if they had something to tell me. And I'm thinking, oh, I'd cleared up the tears, but you know how you have that wet look about your eyes? I thought these women are going to know that there's something's gone down in the room. So as I get up and walk towards that little cubicle, the lady with the Maltese is looking at me trying to pull herself together. And I'm like looking at her going, oh my gosh, here we go. Called into the office. Well, it's okay. Fudge is fine. They said to me that when they were snipping his toenails, they'd noticed that one of the toenails was like a little stub. The nail itself was not really there. It was this stub. And they wanted to know if I knew. Like it sort of looked like it could have been a decomposing nail, but it wasn't. I assured them that it actually happened 13 years ago. And Fudgy was chasing a cat out of the yard, a neighbour's cat. He was giving him a run. And he went straight up a concrete rendered wall. And, of course, claws can't go into concrete. So Fudgy ripped his nail out. I hope I'm not upsetting anyone. You probably have tuned out by now thinking, oh, gosh, that girl's too much for me today. So he lost his nail and it just left a little nail stump. It sort of really snapped it low and it never really grew back. So this poor nurse is treating Fudgy, giving his toenails a clip. She spotted that and thinking, oh, my goodness, we know he's an old boy. We know he's on borrowed time, but he's doing so well. I said, no. He was chasing another cat and there was an incident and he's fine. Oh, the relief on their face and the relief on my face, let me tell you. And then they said, oh, what are you feeding him? Because his fur is in excellent condition. So I told her the food and, his little regime. And she said, keep it up. He's doing really well. And I said, it's it's a year now that I was in here and you told me he had kidney failure was imminent and it could be a year, it could be 3 months, more likely 6 months. And I said, we're over a year and these symptoms I'd noticed for probably a year prior to that, now that I think about it. And they said, she's hugging him. She goes, no, she said, I'm going to say Fudgy is going to be here a lot longer. She said he's holding his own. He's bright, strong. His eyes look great. We haven't done blood work for a little while. We'll probably do that next time when I've got a bit more time just to keep monitoring it. But it's telling us that there's degradation in his kidney function. So I grabbed that cat. I threw my $28 on the counter for his needle and I bolted. I popped him in his little carry cage and I said, come on, Fudge, let's get out of here. Oh, talk about going to a veterinary clinic can be hit and miss. Sometimes you see lots of happy stories with lots of puppies and pussycats and everyone's smiling. Then there's other times that everyone's wailing. Oh, my goodness. So I hope I haven't upset anyone, but it's life. These things, when you're a pet owner, these things come along. So at least I've stitched a couple hexies together here. All right, well, I might toddle off. The sun is now up. I thought this would only be a 15-minute video, but I don't know how I manage it. We've got ourselves two Nearly an hour, if not an hour. Let's have a look at the time. Yep, it's, nearly an hour. All right, guys, look after yourselves. I'll touch base with you over the next week or so, but I'll be focused on the retreat, so be having some fun with the girls. I've got a house full of ladies. I can't wait. I'm going to miss you, Susanna. Kisses to you. Going to be missed. Let me tell you, you're going to be missed. Send my regards to your family. Susanna, thinking of you. And have a good week, everyone. Stay safe, stay happy. Bye.